Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. Form 1 of Shawu Wings, Chaotic Time Space. Form 2 of Shawu Wings, Golden Kingdom, considered an auxiliary power, but very much to Luo Feng's liking. After all, the greatest difference between a universe master and him would be the ability to control time and space. For instance, hunting and fighting used to be disadvantageous for him, but that weak spot had now been remedied. A radius of 80 light years, Luo Feng said. Even a top-tier domain-type true treasure like Thousand Treasure River was not as ridiculously immense. If the second form was already so strong, I cannot imagine the third form. Luo Feng started to examine the entire Shawu Wings with his godly power, covering every inch of the wings. There were some sculptures with secret engravings that appeared in his mind 1,000 times clearer than what the naked eye could see. Luo Feng took one look and immediately felt some disappointment. He understood that for the moment, this was the maximum power of Shawu Wings, or at least, the third form of secret engravings of this deformed Shawu Wings was originally imperfect. Clearly, Shawu Wings still lacks certain components. At least, that was the case for the sculptures of secret engravings, where a part of the engravings is missing. No matter how powerful I am, it is impossible for me to activate the third form. To activate the third form, I must fulfill two requirements. Firstly, law comprehension acquired by oneself to attain a higher level of accomplishment in the studies of secret engravings. Secondly, finding the missing component of Shawu Wings to bring it nearer to perfection. After just one fusion, Shawu Wings had reached the level of a top-tier true treasure. If another fusion were to... Shawu Wings are indeed extraordinary, but I have no idea where I can find that missing component, Luo Feng lamented. He knew it would not be easy. Shawu Wings had belonged to Primal Chaos City Leader for a long time, yet even Primal Chaos City Leader was not able to discover any other components. However, he had not made use of Shawu Wings personally, so he would not have known. Luo Feng did use them, though. In addition, as countless great beings of the universe were gathered in the original star, Luo Feng managed to sense Tianyang Night by chance encounter, which was how he learned about the other component of Shawu Wings, Flowing Light Wings. Yet, through these years, as Luo Feng went into the original stars time and time again, he did not sense anything else that was new to him. Wanting to find the next component, the level of difficulty was palpable. Yet this feels strange, too. The birth of Shawu Wings did not take place on an original star. If it did, then the original star would clearly indicate the level of this treasure. The treasure would have been divided into several components, and its birth would have taken place according to the divided pieces. What everyone has obtained would only be components, but all would understand how precious each component was. Tianyang Knight and Teacher each received one wing, yet they did not see the greatness of this true treasure component. When Teacher first gave me his share, he said with Shorty that throughout the universe, he was the only one who had laid eyes on Shawu Wings. No second being had ever seen Shawu Wings before. Luo Feng said to himself. I have to ask Teacher about it again. I need to find out where exactly he found Shawu Wings. Luo Feng decided that he had to find the other components of Shawu Wings. If the power of the second form was this powerful, what would the power of the third form be like? Luo Feng was really looking forward to finding his answer. Time to head back. Luo Feng disappeared into the sky, which was still as quiet as ever. The only problem was, at a distance away, a galaxy was missing. The years of a great being were always so long that they felt like an eternity. The majority of the time passed by peacefully. This peace, however, was spent preparing for future fights, which always seemed crazier than the preceding ones. The fights could be for their race, for power, or for oneself. I can't believe that the Disambiguation Temple is still not open by now. Luo Feng had been looking forward to the opening of the Disambiguation Temple. After all, it was a pinnacle domain-type true treasure. Only Star Tower could surpass it. The other treasures were lacking in comparison. Force Armor and Combat Blade Absolute Guest were all weaker by a notch. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to obtain such a true treasure. Naturally, it evoked an overwhelming sense of competitiveness in Luo Feng. At that time, Luo Feng was also cultivating the beast god path, which required him to study diagrams of secret engravings. So temporarily, he would be giving up on studying Star Tower, as the third level of secret engravings were shockingly complicated. This was clearly of a far higher level than all that he had studied previously. Only those who were more accomplished in the law comprehension and diagrams of secret engravings would be able to comprehend it. It was 165 years since Luo Feng first became Milky Way Horde leader. Within the ancestral god's secret region, in an area on Redbud Island that was being enshrouded by the five-color Aurora Lake, Luo Feng stood by the railings of a pavilion and looked off into the distance, where he could see the public square in front of the palace of the island master. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the fountain resembling a curtain, and strode through it to enter the land of inheritance. A moment later, he stepped out from behind the fountain. I already know how to use the ultimate technique of a universe master, and I have the heart of beast god, he thought. Cultivating the beast god path can be done at godlike speed. Also, I was fortunate that there is the land of inheritance, where I could always inherit, allowing my efficiency to be maximized. Luo Feng was clear on the fact that every time he entered the land of inheritance, a large amount of energy would be consumed. That was why the land of inheritance had very stringent control over the number of times one could enter. Usually, only those who newly joined were entitled to one free inheritance. Other times, everyone had to exchange for the chance to enter and inherit from the land of inheritance. Most of the other heirs could only make an exchange once in a blue moon. However, there was a year when Luo Feng had gone crazy engaging himself in various battles, to the extent of fighting 620,000 battles. This had earned him many glory points, which could be used to exchange for many chances of entry. Usually, one would need to have acquired a new comprehension before another round of inheritance, so the sessions of energy-consuming inheritances were limited to a certain number. Luo Feng, a capacious voice rang by Luo Feng's ears and resonated in his mind. Standing by the waterfall, Luo Feng turned to look high up into the sky. A light emerged from the depths of five-color Aurora Lake that enveloped all that was beneath it. It moved to completely enshroud Luo Feng. One end of this light pillar kept Luo Feng enveloped. Looking carefully at the other end, Luo Feng saw that it was extended deep within the five-color Aurora Lake, all the way to the Ancestral God Palace. Ancestral God Palace. Luo Feng looked up and saw the colorful lights separating on their own to create a path for the light pillar to pass. Ancestral God, Luo Feng greeted. He recognized this voice. It was the voice of Double-Face Ancestral God. Come to me, the voice said. Instantly, an intangible power enveloped Luo Feng. The force brought Luo Feng up off Redbed Island and sent him on his way along the path of the light. Luo Feng went flying into the depths of five-color Aurora Lake in the direction of the Ancestral God Palace. At this point, Luo Feng's speed far exceeded the speed of light. Being able to reach such a speed in the primal universe was on thing. Obviously, only a universe supreme being was capable of such manipulation. Luo Feng did not fight this force. Given his power, he could have easily broken free from such restraint. Flying ahead, he could see the 3,000 stars, which represented 3,000 god worlds. He could also see the 72 general continents, where every continent was vast and imposing. Then he flew past Beast God Palace, and the 8 Natural Beasts God Palace. Surrounding this were 16 other palaces. Arrived. Luo Feng landed on the massive, towering public square of the palace. Looking at this Ancestral God Palace from Redbud Island, the place had seemed immense and towering. Being on it, Luo Feng gained a true appreciation for how intimidating its size was. The entire palace exuded an endless, immensely strong power. This was an eye-opener even for someone like Luo Feng, who had laid eyes on various true treasures. This Ancestral God Palace must be a pinnacle flying palace true treasure. Luo Feng speculated. No other like the Ancestral God School. Even if humankind's teacher origin had yet to be suppressed, he would barely be comparable to this Ancestral God School. Luo Feng, come in. The voice was heard from within the large palace hall. Outside the hall, there were 8 guards clad in gold armor. They were all universe knights, and from the power exuded by the treasures they carried on them, their armor and weapons were true treasures. At this moment, all 8 knights were looking directly at Luo Feng. Yes, Luo Feng answered. He took a step forward and was instantly at the doorstep of the palace, where he made his way into the spacious hall. In the towering hall were many tall heavenly pillars that seemed never-ending. On every heavenly pillar was a totem engraving where the appearance of every race was engraved. There were sculptures with engravings of humans, bug soldiers, the automaton race, and there were also engravings of many other different races. Double-face ancestral god sat on his throne, the furthest one away. He looked toward Luo Feng and, with a smile, he asked, according to the information that your fellow humans have openly disseminated, you have fixed your chosen name as Milky Way Horde Leader. Yes. Luo Feng nodded. Milky Way Horde Leader Luo Feng, you have been with the Ancestral God School for some time, and also joined our sub-organization, Ancestral God said. You may be Milky Way Horde Leader now, but the noble universe origin has told me that you have yet to become a universe master. You are able to make use of the ultimate technique of a universe master, because you had an ability of another school of study, which had appeared in the primal universe for the first time. Luo Feng was secretly taken aback. The Ancestral God School openly made it known that they were the guardians of the universe origin. Even Primal Chaos City Leader and company said that the universe origin was also reciprocating and guarding over the Ancestral God School. Previously, he had always managed to receive inheritances one after the other. Plus, he had created a technique with the help of another school of study. It seemed the rumors of the relationship between the Ancestral God School and universe origin were not unfounded. Both sides knew everything about one another. The day you truly become a universe master will be the day you become our guarding godly master, Ancestral God said, looking at Luo Feng. Then he continued, don't overanalyze. Every guarding godly master of the Ancestral God School is a universe master with extremely strong power. Ordinary universe masters will not be able to take up such a role. Every guarding godly master will have a few universe masters under his command. Luo Feng nodded. He already knew. Sky Beacon Godly Master, 9 Remoteness Godly Master. They were legendary existences in the universe. His current capability was certainly not enough for him to become a guarding godly master, and to stand at equal rank as the rest. You joined the sub-organization of our Ancestral God School such a long time ago, but have yet to receive a single mission. Ancestral God looked at Luo Feng. Now, I am entrusting you with one. It does not implicate humanity, and the venue is very far away from the human domain. Are you willing to take up the mission? If it does not implicate humanity, and my good friends, I would be happy to oblige, Luo Feng said. He had accepted numerous inheritances, and received much kindness from Ancestral God. Earlier on, Ancestral God had even stepped forward personally to protect him from virtual real demon master. It was only right to reciprocate with his services. A golden ray flashed and stopped right before Luo Feng. It resembled a statue of a golden toad, and the eyes of the toad were dark gray. Take this with you and head over to this domain. Any life form that causes its eyes to turn red must be annihilated. Ancestral God looked down at Luo Feng. And you will also need to investigate what actually happened. The universe origin has communicated with me over there. Something is happening that bodes ill for our primal universe. Luo Feng took hold of the golden toad and looked at its pair of eyes. They would turn red. Ancestral God, when its eyes turn red, does it represent how far away the life form is that is causing the eyes to turn red? Luo Feng asked. How big is its area of surveillance? About 60 million miles, Ancestral God said. Where your life imprint is. Control it, and you can clearly sense whether the reaction you have detected is caused by an actual life form or a foreign object. If it's an actual life form, no matter who it is, you must annihilate it. If you are unwilling to kill with your own hands, transmit your findings to me, and I shall deploy some other members. This is a new transmission token. The previous one, that 9 remoteness, gave you carried a lower authority. You will not be able to connect with me directly using that. With this one, you can. A golden token drifted over to Luo Feng. He caught hold of it right away. Why did this golden token look so much like the transmission token that his teacher, Sitting Mountain Guest, had made? Go, ancestral god ordered. For the sake of the noble universe origin, every life form that makes it see red has to be annihilated. Not even one can be spared. Understood. Luo Feng bowed. According to the area the ancestral god gave me, it should be in the Yuan AO secret region. On an arid mineral planet, a silver being broke the hard rocks. The rocks flew around, and the being already stood in space. Luo Feng looked to the sky in the distance, standing in space. This is the closest place to the Yuan AO secret region that my slaves are able to transport to. Luo Feng nodded, then changed his godly body. The original earthling body went back to the world ring while Blood Cloud Palace leader showed up. Blood Cloud Palace leader shook his tail, and Blood Cloud Palace showed up. Go. He entered Blood Cloud Palace leader and sped up. He immediately entered the Dark Universe, and started to travel quickly through the Dark Universe toward Yuan AO's secret region. After all, he was only working for the Ancestral God School, and it was not urgent. Luo Feng wouldn't teleport, as it would be tiring to teleport continuously for more than a day. On the other hand, traveling with Blood Cloud Palace was much slower than teleportation, but was still comparatively fast in the Dark Universe. Inside the primal secret region of the human territory, 2 beings stood near the palace of Primal Chaos City Leader. One was Primal Chaos City Leader, and the other was Huge Axe Founder. Chaos, said Huge Axe Founder. I decided to go to Universe Ocean. I might be away from the original universe for a long time. From now on, you'll be in charge of the issues in the human race. Universe Ocean. Primal Chaos City Leader frowned. For a long time. For beings like Huge Axe Founder, it would take thousands or even tens of thousands of years for training one time. This was why when Huge Axe Founder said a long time, it might actually mean a long time. It might even be counted using eras. However, Primal Chaos City Leader was baffled, because he didn't think it should take Huge Axe Founder that long to venture to Universe Ocean. Primal Chaos City Leader looked to Huge Axe Founder in shock. Is that so? That's right. I decided to venture to Tilted Peak Sector. Huge Axe Founder said, revealing his true intention. Huge Axe, said Primal Chaos City Leader. Tilted Peak Sector. I got a Tilted Peak Sector remnant diagram, said Huge Axe Founder. With that remnant diagram, I can inspect some of the areas on that diagram, and if I get lucky, I might obtain a supreme true treasure. Even if I'm not lucky enough, I might also get a pinnacle domain type true treasure. Remnant diagram, said Primal Chaos City Leader joyfully. A remnant diagram of Tilted Peak Sector. Yes. Huge Axe Founder nodded with a smile. Even Primal Chaos City Leader was excited by the news. Universe Ocean was a place broader and more dangerous than the original universe. It was boundless. No great beings knew the end of Universe Ocean. Universe Supreme Masters were low-key in the original universe. In Universe Ocean, however, they were all fierce and cunning, fighting and seizing at every chance. Universe Ocean was where the most true treasures were born. Almost all the supreme true treasures came from mysterious places in Universe Ocean like Tilted Peak Sector. It was the most dangerous land of extremists in Universe Ocean, but there were all sorts of pinnacle true treasures, and even supreme true treasures hidden in Tilted Peak Sector. Of course, it was extremely dangerous as well. Just the possibility of getting lost was enough to terrify Universe Supreme Masters. There were no directions in it, and it was very easy to get lost. Even Universe Supreme Masters, who were able to defend themselves against all kinds of dangers, might never be able to get out of Tilted Peak Sector. Even Universe Supreme Masters wouldn't dare adventure there without a map, but no complete map of Tilted Peak Sector existed. Fortunately, there were maps of some areas made by all the great beings who had ventured in it, and they combined the maps of those areas into a remnant diagram. Remnant diagrams were highly valued by all the powers in the universe. The rarer a remnant diagram was, the fewer adventurers would be present in the areas depicted, which meant a higher chance of finding true treasures. One remnant diagram was priceless enough to be fought for by Universe Supreme Masters. "This is a remnant diagram of Tilted Peak Sector," said Huge Axe founder solemnly. "Based on what I know, there are few adventurers there. I got this remnant diagram by luck, and I have to get there as soon as possible." "Huge Axe, my original body will go with you," said Primal Chaos City leader. "No." Huge Axe founder shook his head. "The deeper it is in Tilted Peak Sector, the more dangerous it will be. The ecstasy sound alone is able to make a universe master fall into an eternal sleep." Primal Chaos City leader was shocked. That was right. The power hidden in Tilted Peak Sector was more terrifying than that of Universe Supreme Masters. Even if he had the clone technique, his other bodies would be affected if one of his body's souls was contaminated, at which point he would fall into an eternal sleep, which was not much different from demise. "I know all the most dangerous areas in Tilted Peak Sector," said Huge Axe founder. "My life won't be in danger unless I go to those areas. However, I'll strictly follow that remnant picture, and if it's incorrect, I'll go back immediately." "Okay, be careful," said Primal Chaos City leader. "It's already very fortunate for me to get this remnant diagram, and this diagram covers a large area," said Huge Axe founder. "It might be made by the powers before the Grant incarnation. I can search further using the remnant diagram, and if I'm lucky enough, I can get a supreme true treasure by spending enough time. You'll be in charge of everything now." Huge Axe founder disappeared. Primal Chaos City leader stood in the sky for a long time, then nodded. "If Huge Axe founder can get a supreme true treasure, we humans will be more powerful." He teleported himself back to his palace. Luo Feng moved swiftly through the dark universe via Blood Cloud Palace, and arrived at a secret region, in a corner of the original universe in 8 days. It was Yuan Ao Secret Region. Yuan Ao Secret Region. Luo Feng stood in the space of Yuan Ao Secret Region. He waved his hand, and the golden toad appeared. Its eyes were still grey. "This must be Yuan Ao Secret Region, based on the information from Ancestral God. There are 12 vast lands in Yuan Ao Secret Region. The smallest has a diameter of 1 light-year, and the largest has a diameter of almost 8 light-years. There are many life forms of other races living on it." Luo Feng nodded. "The entire secret region belongs to Yuan Ao Master. There was a significant number of life forms living in those vast lands, and it was normal that many sector lords were born in those lands. However, only a limited number of special life forms existed in one territory, and the fewer life forms there were, the more nurturing they could receive. Although there were plenty of individuals here, the number of great beings was significantly smaller than those in other territories. There are so many lives, and it's easy for undying fighters to be born, yet it's difficult for universe knights to be born," thought Luo Feng. "And there are no other universe masters in Yuan Ao Secret Region other than Yuan Ao Master. Besides, Yuan Ao Master is a special life form. Yuan Ao Master was a special life form with an enormous amount of power, and he roamed the universe all alone. He must have felt lonely, which may have been why he seized life forms in the universe from the weaker races. He seized hundreds of millions of individuals from different races. The most powerful one of those might only be a universe knight who didn't dare to go against a universe master. Besides, Yuan Ao Master only seized hundreds of millions of lives from trillions of life forms within a race. There were so many races in the universe, and other than pinnacle races and powerful races, there were plenty of ordinary races and weak races. Yuan Ao Master had seized life forms from 100 different races, and put them in 12 vast lands for them to breed. There were more and more lives born in those lands, and Yuan Ao Master kept enlarging the lands. Now, there were zillions of individuals on those lands. There were undying fighters born in those lands, and the ordinary life forms believed in those undying fighters and followed them. Of course, there was a supreme god on those 12 lands. It was Yuan Ao, supreme god, worshipped by all in the 12 lands. Yuan Ao master seized all those life forms, and he manipulated undying wars using the undying fighters under him, whispered Luo Feng. Ordinary life forms fight each other in those undying wars where many great beings were born. Thousands of undying fighters manipulated the undying wars, and the wars are like proving grounds. Dozens of universe knights were born in the conflicts, followed by thousands of undying fighters. Luo Feng smiled. Of course, those universe knights were useless, as he had killed more than 6,000 universe knights with one move. The real value of those universe knights was their potential to become universe masters, even one of them. Based on what ancestral god said, something hazardous to the universe origin is happening here. Luo Feng nodded. I'll go to those lands and inspect them. After all the lives in the secret region are in those lands. Luo Feng teleported himself 1,000 light years away, and instantly, he had already traveled 1,000,000 light years. Suddenly, a boundless land appeared before him. It was one of the 12 lands that belonged to Yuan Ao master. This must be Yuan land. There was a 7-color light membrane that was as thin as a piece of film high up in the sky covering the vast continent. It had an extremely strong resistance, but Luo Feng could easily pass through it. This resistance, I think only a sector lord will be able to penetrate. Luo Feng nodded slightly, then headed downward to the ground. Just being high up in the sky, Luo Feng could feel an extremely strong suction force from beneath. It was so strong that Luo Feng was taken aback. Such a strong force, he said. I think only those of universe level would be able to keep flying under such force. He only flashed about in mid-air for a short moment before he landed on the vast grounds. The moment his feet touched the ground as he landed, the strong suction force weakened to be almost negligible, all within an instant. Luo Feng commented lightly, Yuan Ao master really put in a lot of thought and effort when he created these 12 continents. One great continent and one 7-color light membrane. There must be a repulsive force between the two so as not to feel such a strong repulsive force upon landing. Luo Feng could not help but marvel at the capability of Yuan Ao master, who came to existence during the earliest period after the birth of the universe. At the very least, his efforts were evident in the creation of these 12 continents. Luo Feng scanned his surroundings. This was a deserted plain in pitch-black darkness. At first glance, there were countless skeletons left lying on the grounds, and many were already decomposing. There were some that were still sturdy and whole. Obviously, the death was not too long ago. This battlefield occupies a space around 6,000 miles wide, Luo Feng said to himself. Among the corpses lying around, there are some who were highly skilled, while the others were mediocre. The best around here is merely a sector lord. With his godly power, he investigated the entire battlefield and discovered the corpses of 3 sector lords. One was buried deep underground, while the other 2 were hidden deep within the mountains. On either side of the battlefield, there was an incomparably majestic ancient city. On the wall surrounding both cities, for a distance of at least 6,000 miles, there were large numbers of warriors on patrol. These warriors looked like they all came from different races, and the city's walls reeked of blood, as though they were telling the cruelest stories found in the history of war. Battlefield. Impregnable passes on both sides. Luo Feng underwent a rapid transformation, where his wings became a dark green color, and his hairstyle became a cropped short and fiery red. His skin also turned dark green. This look resembled the soldiers of one of the races he managed to detect when he investigated the place with his godly power. I cannot identify this race at all. He conducted his investigation with his consciousness, rapidly scanning through the virtual universe, but what he found gave him a good shock. Ka Vulture Clan. This weak little race disappeared from the universe a long time ago. Only some remnants of it are left in the Yuan Ao region. Luo Feng sighed. Previously, when Yuan Ao master rampantly plundered about, who would have expected him to leave behind a trace of this Ka Vulture Clan? With one step, Luo Feng crossed the majestic frontier of the city, which was more than 6,000 miles away from where he was. Luo Feng appeared in the sky above the incomparably luxurious and vast city where thousands of people were bustling with excitement. Luo Feng was positioned high up in the sky, so naturally, those ordinary life forms would not be able to see him. Luo Feng checked the golden toad that he held in his left palm. Both eyes were still gray. Still gray. Every continent is immeasurably massive. This toad with its gray eyes will only be able to detect if I am within a distance of 60 million miles away from my target. How long will that take? Luo Feng took another step forward. He would continue investigating until he reached the 60 million mile range. Luo Feng embarked on a long period of investigative works. Out of these 12 continents, the one of the smallest diameter would be around 1 light year, and the biggest could be as big as 8 light years. Every time Luo Feng teleported, he made sure to maintain 60 million miles. So if he were to teleport 10,000 times a day, it would take 10 days for him to pass through a continent with a diameter of 1 light year. And the width itself was already 1 light year. If I had to look into 12 such continents, I'm afraid I would need several tens of thousands of years. Fortunately, the investigative works would only require some efforts on my part. Therefore, Luo Feng only took out a trace of his consciousness to begin on this long journey of investigative works. The bulk of his consciousness was completely devoted to studying the beast god path and pictures of secret engravings. In the twinkling of an eye, Luo Feng had spent half a year on this continent. Nothing. There is nothing here, either. Here. Huh. It's red now. After teleporting repeatedly, Luo Feng suddenly stopped. The eyes of the golden toad in his hand turned fiery red. After half a year of probing around, this was the first time the eyes of the golden toad had turned red. Naturally, Luo Feng was so overwhelmed with emotions that his other bodies temporarily stopped cultivating too. In that direction, Luo Feng looked up into the distance. With one teleportation, he reached around 1 million miles away from his target. Thereafter, Luo Feng started flying. 1 million miles. I can make it there in a split moment. I have to see for myself what the situation is around the target. What could be so highly regarded by Ancestral God of the Ancestral God School, the universe's top power, who even mentioned that something terrible might happen to the primal universe? Luo Feng did not dare to be the least bit careless and maintained due vigilance. After all, Ancestral God mentioned that something bodes ill for the primal universe, so it would be no simple affair, after all. Flying high in the air, Luo Feng's godly power investigated within 6,000 miles of his surroundings, as he did not dare to probe too far away, lest he alerted his target unnecessarily and gave it the chance for escape. This was Luo Feng's first time investigating a vast continent so meticulously. This task showed him scenes depicting snippets of life on this continent where various events of love and hatred unfolded before him. Luo Feng got to see the uniqueness of the civilization on this dark continent with his own eyes, and that made him happy. Interesting fellow, unlucky fellow. Luo Feng's power suddenly locked down on a certain spot of this continent. Mighty Flame family, just you wait. I, will become the Great Holy One, and then I will raise the entire Mighty Flame fortress to the ground. A burly rider was seen on the back of his gigantic demon beast with tusks. He was tall, bulky, and his entire body was covered with sturdy armor. By the sides of his demon beast were 2 large, blood-red axes. On his face, there was a scar slashed across half of his face, adding on to his ferocity. How dare you insult me like that? I served him well, fought for him with my life, and yet he dared insult me so. Even my maid was snatched away from me and given to someone else. I will take my revenge, I definitely will. I will be back, and I will come back, as the Great Holy One and stamp on the entire Mighty Flame fortress until it becomes nothing but a flat piece of land. The demon beast rider cursed and swore. Then his demon beast took off in a sprint. Rumbling of hooves were heard from behind. The demon beast rider looked behind, and for the moment, his eyes widened as he went pale. Behind him, an army of at least 100 demon beast riders were charging toward him with murderous intentions. A piercing sound was heard from the sky, causing this demon beast rider, Bur, to look up. In midair, there was a gigantic beast that was fiery red all over, and its scaled armor and wings were surrounded by a ring of flames. Fire pterosaur. There are only 9 fire pterosaurs in Mighty Flame Fortress, and just to kill me, a 5th grade rider, they have mobilized a fire pterosaur and 100 demon beast riders. Bur's eyes revealed a look of insanity as he grabbed a rider's rifle that was a good 36 feet long from the back of his demon beast in one swift move. With both hands, he held the rifle and took aim at the fire pterosaur fast approaching him from high up in the air. Beads of perspiration rolled down Bur's face as his entire body trembled. He gritted his teeth and stared. It was not fear he felt. It was because the fire pterosaur charging down from the sky was overwhelmingly oppressive. To be a worthy opponent of a fire pterosaur, one needed to be a 9th grade rider, which was just second to the level of a Holy One. He was merely a 5th grade rider. Combining the efforts of 1,000 riders of his level would still be unable to defeat one fire pterosaur. The demon beast he was riding went soft in the knees and fell. Bur fell off its back in midair and crashed to the ground rapidly. Although his body was in a somersault as he fell, his hands were still holding onto the rifle and aiming at midair. Mighty Flame Family. Mighty Flame Family. You wretched beings. Bur roared. Even if I, the great Bur, were to perish now, I would come back as a demon rider to haunt you all. Demon rider. In your dreams. The fire pterosaur was hovering in midair, while the other demon beast riders caught up at top speed. Soon, Bur was heavily surrounded. This troop of demon beast riders. Luo Feng judged from where he was, high up in the sky, and seemed to consist of 3 different races. In terms of power, that flying beast should probably be of a star level 7th to 8th grade standard. Although flying was usually only possible for beings of universe level, this beast had wings and the innate ability it could rely on, so flying was already almost possible. As for those riders, they should mostly be of the Star Traveler level standard. The highest of the lot would, at most, be at a Star Traveler level 9th grade standard. A rider wearing the most elegant armor, who was riding a snow-white, single-horned beast, said, Bur, I am not going to be a bully. My underlings are not fighting you, only me. I will fight you. Come, come, Uncle Bur shall spank your bottom. Bur, holding on to his gigantic rifle, grinned. He was like a crazy demon as he stared at the handsome rider. He was aware that before the Mighty Flame family, he was a puny nobody. Even though he knew that putting up a resistance would cost him his life, he was not going to take it lying down. Suddenly, everything between heaven and earth fell into silence. It was as though time stopped. Even the wild grass by the roadside that was bending in the direction of the winds froze in their respective positions. The riders and the beast hovering in midair stopped moving too. What is happening? Bur was terrified as he held onto his rifle. A lone figure approached him slowly, a smile on his face as he looked at Bur. You shall do, said the man with his dark green wings. He looked at Bur, and an invisible force held Bur captive. Around 600 miles away, in the middle of a deserted plain, Bur was released and fell onto the ground. He immediately stood up, while continuing to blabber, I must have encountered a ghost. Could Uncle Bur have met with the demon ghost? Where is the fire pterosaur? Where is this? The big, burly man looked at the figure standing in front of him with great terror. The figure wore a black robe that looked harmlessly simple. With his dark green wings and skin and his fiery red, cropped hair, his entire being seemed to exude a faint, mysterious aura. Sir. Bur bowed immediately. Luo Feng looked at Bur. After arriving at your world, I needed to find a life form to ask about certain things. You are the chosen one. I know you are fearful of that Mighty Flame family. Fret not. The troop that was after you will think you have escaped far away. Oh? You are guessing who I am. A holy one. A legendary being. A demigod. Bur's fear intensified. This being before him knew all the thoughts that were going through his mind. Luo Feng laughed. Being at universe level, he could easily conduct a soul search on another being at a star traveler level, given his current power. There was no way the thoughts of such a weak little fellow could escape investigation. Luo Feng teased this fellow for fun, but at the same time, he was speedily scanning through his memories to conduct a meticulous search. Interesting world. Interesting young fellow. Luo Feng looked at Bur. At the same time, he turned to look far away into the mountains. Whatever caused the eyes of the golden toad to turn red is in that direction, and what lives there is actually what the locals call a legendary being. I admire your character, but I am curious to know what you will become if you own great power. Luo Feng studied Bur, who was in a mixed state of fear and uneasiness. Suddenly, a kiwi fruit seed, something ordinary that came from the universe, appeared on Luo Feng's palm. It was one of the countless materials hidden within Luo Feng's world ring. The next moment, it transformed into a stream of green light and enshrouded Bur. Bur was in great shock. Within an instant, he was entirely enveloped in that green light. Under the subtle control of Luo Feng's godly power, Bur's body continuously absorbed the essence of energy and achieved breakthroughs repeatedly. His life gene level was soaring at a frightening speed, almost instantaneously. Within a short moment, a 9th-grade universe-level being was born. Luo Feng smiled as he watched everything happen. Since he had already obtained the information he needed, then what he had done to Bur was merely out of randomness to appease his earlier curiosity. To a great universe master, the value of a small seed taken from the universe could most probably be neglected. Turning around, Luo Feng stepped forward and left. This video will end here.